All right. What an absolutely fabulous film. You just watched The Great Dictator, formerly The Dictator, actually, interestingly enough. It was originally called The Dictator, and the name was changed because of licensing rights. So they just added The Great so that they wouldn't get sued because apparently there was another project called The Dictator. So that is considered one of the great films of all time. And obviously, I've been giving you some factoids about the movie throughout, but I'd like to just talk about the movie for a little bit before I open it to questions. And we're not going to do too many questions tonight because I have to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. But it's interesting. I think that speech obviously is strangely relevant. And every time I listen to it, I cry because I don't know. I love the idea of puring something. Like at some point in an artist's life, they do something that is so pure and so perfect that like they can't even deny its brilliance. And whatever happened there, Chaplin tapped into something. If you watch that scene back, it's a 5 minute plus speech, and very famously, he only blinks like 3 times, which is crazy. Like he's absolutely fucking dialed, and it is so profound. And obviously, you guys can see why I wanted to watch that movie. It's interesting. Lots of people have seen the speech and then they've never seen the movie attached to it. And I think ultimately the speech hits so much harder at the tail end of like uh you know uh an hour and 50 of like slapstick vaudevillian like humor. There is this really poignant moment that kind of reveals that Charlie Chaplin really understood the threat despite the time period where the film was made. Um, it's interesting. I've shown that speech a few times, and the reaction is always the same. The reaction from chat is kind of almost a defeatist thing, like, how did, and here we are again in the same struggle. And I think obviously it's okay to have that reaction, but at the same time, as I become older, I think there's something very affirming about his speech in the fact that like every generation deals with awful men and every generation deals with tyrants and dictators. And that one line, as long as men die, liberty shall thrive, is such a brilliant idea in terms of like, this too shall pass. Tough times never last, tough people do. And it's like this idea that the struggle is eternal, but so is so are the people fighting for goodness. So are the people that choose to fight on the side of equality and peace and goodness. And for every time there is a villain, there is a hero. And you have to remember that in the current timeline, part of that goodness has to be you. We live in a time where it's very easy to become sedated. It's very easy to become pacified. It's very easy to be sidelined. In fact, that's exactly what these men want. They want you to give up on the idea that you can affect a change, or that you should have hope, or that you do have power. And that apathy is what allows this evil to thrive even more deeply. It's funny. We talk about how absurd it was, the concept that in 1939, Hitler wasn't yet this terrifying figure. He wasn't yet the most evil. He wasn't yet this death destroyer of worlds. He was kind of a joke. And so much so that people didn't think this film would work because they thought Hitler would go away. And that seems so absurd until you do think about the attitude around Donald Trump in 2014. It was a complete joke. It was a complete farce, a lampoon, both sides. How ridiculous. A reality TV star rise to the level of president? Ha! Poppycock. And maybe it's because we do revile our own past so much. It is fascinating. As time goes on, I wasn't the most dedicated student of history. And I certainly, wasn't as interested in the previous timelines as I was in what was happening right in front of me. But really, beyond it, I see that young people right now not only are uninterested, they revile anything old. And it becomes this kind of interesting conundrum where it's really impossible to break a loop. It's really impossible to learn and to prepare for a future when you haven't taken the time to learn from your past. And that's why I think there is another added value to watching all of these films from different eras. While they might not be perfect people, right? At the beginning of the stream, everybody wanted to talk about Charlie Chaplin's 18-year-old wife, which I agree really skeeves me out. But if you shut yourself off to the lessons of people that came before you because they are imperfect people, you stand to lose the forest for the trees. And that is why I think, particularly from this piece of art and a few others, I am able to separate the art from the artist. The vehicle will never be perfect. It's kind of like the same criticism that they launch at some political figures that we are around now. Like, these people will never be perfect, right? You're always going to be able to find something that you can point at and go, that guy's flawed. And so we should throw out the entire message. But that's never the case. There will never be a savior. There will never be a Buddha who comes down to you clad in light. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. All you can do is do your best and be empathetic and move forward with peace and joy and prosperity and equality in your heart. There is something to be said about the situation around kind of the beginning of this film too, because it is another important lesson. The beginning of this movie is set in World War I. And a huge reason that World War II happened was because there was very little empathy surrounding World War I for the Germans, which is a crazy thing to say. But it left them broke and jaded and angry. And in that void grew something even more terrible. It is true that violence begets violence, hate begets hate, anger begets anger, and anger leads to the dark side. Oh, shit, fuck. I don't know. Fuck. No, but it is true that all of these kind of manifestations of anger only beget more anger. And so empathy and caring and humanity is really the only way to fix these broken people and broken places and broken things. So, Bill Hicks once said, every day is a choice between love and hate. And it's a choice you have to make every day. And everything's not as simple as a binary between those two things. But I do think that making that choice more often in your life will lead to not only your personal happiness, but the happiness of the people around you. So I hope you enjoyed this movie. It is one of my favorites. It is shocking how well it holds up 100 years later. Like, truly, I mean, not 100, hyperbole. Someone in chat will correct me. But truly, like, every person you see on that screen is dead and gone. Everybody who worked on this film, everybody who was in this film, and yet it is still so poignant and well made. And it makes you think, like, my God, how are human beings so terrifyingly similar? Even an internet later, even a movie theater later, even airplanes later. Like, how are we still so human. There's something really terrifying about that. And there's something really beautiful about that. So what I would advise is go watch some old movies. You might learn something. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this film night. I talked a lot about the movie. I gave you a lot of factoids, but like all film nights, I open it up to you for a little bit. And I'm not going to do this long because I have to get to bed. I have to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. But if you had any brief questions about this movie or about Charlie Chaplin, I would do my best to field them for you. How did Charlie not have a better career in the talkies? Well, okay, so that's interesting. Charlie did have a good career in talkies. This movie was very successful in the box office. However, right after this movie, World War II started fucking happening. Pearl Harbor happened. They found out that they were gassing millions of Jews. And then all of a sudden, his first talkie, he was like, ugh, fuck. You know what I mean? He really was, it was a bad look. And years later, people were like, it wasn't just Charlie Chaplin that was like, oh, yikes. There were some other people that kind of were like, ooh, that was ill-timed. Now, in retrospect, I think we can kind of gauge it with a little bit more objectivity. But at the time, you know what I mean? Like, too soon. Also, you have to understand, when Chaplin made this movie, he had been making movies since 1913. So at this point, he had already been making movies for like 30 years. And so he didn't need the money. He was already a fucking legend. He was kind of doing his thing. He had like 15 fucking children from 4 different wives. His career in the talkies was kind of just because like he was older at this point. You know what I mean? He did have a great voice though. 15, that might also be her hyperbole, but I know he had a ton of children. 11. Okay, there you go. 11! Great line. Legitimate question. Do you think Spielberg was referencing the end of this film with Listen in Disclosure Day? God, I hope not. God, I really hope that wasn't Disclosure Day. I hope that wasn't Spielberg's version of The Dictator, but now that you say it, oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, wow. That's very
Thank you
cool.
so much, the
64,
Bluntress.
that's a lot of juice.
How did Charlie Chaplin learn so much about Hitler and Nazi Germany at the time? Okay, Shark Cowboy, this is really going to sting for everybody here. People in the 40s were basically informed about world events and world leaders like everybody was. Like, I hate to say this, but I know it seems so crazy. Like, we have people, like we have streamers that genuinely don't know who the vice president is, right? Like we have streamers that have like openly been like, who? But like, people used to read the newspaper, and when people went to the theater, there were also like news clippings. They'd be like, what's happening in Nazi Germany? Here comes Goebbels. He's Nazi Germany's propaganda minister. Look at how nice his coat looks. Like, there were these newsreels that they would play before films. And like, the average person was probably much more informed about world events because 1, there weren't as many distractions. 2, they were genuinely interested. But specifically, Chaplin became fascinated by Hitler. And at one point, he said that he thought that Hitler was the greatest actor ever to live after watching one of his speeches, because he was like, this guy is so terrible, but he's like so good at his like, like he became kind of fascinated by this guy's ability to be an orator and like the obvious like command that he had over an audience. So particularly Chaplin became kind of fascinated by him. Now there's also some very cosmic things going on where like Hitler was actually quite a big fan of Chaplin as an actor. They were almost born on the exact same day. They looked so similar. Like, that was part of the original premise of the film, is that one of Chaplin's friends were like, bro, you look just like Hitler. And he was like, really? So that is some of the stuff that you should know about that. Was he fascinated? Yeah, he was fascinated by Hitler. Like, I don't think Chaplin was like a Hitler fan. I don't think like Chaplin was like a closet, like, I know I'm making a movie about how much he sucks, but he's got some good points. I really do think like it was kind of like a morbid curiosity is the best way to label it. Was it normal back then for an actor to play multiple characters? I didn't know what to make of it from the beginning. Okay, so there is another reason for that. Okay, so it had been done before. It will be done afterward. Part of the reason that this movie is hard to follow is it's Chaplin's first talkie. And when talkies became a thing, script supervisors became a thing. So a script supervisor's job was to track all the lines and make sure that you could draw basically like a continuum through those things, and make sure that you had like a good continuity through your film, right? And Chaplin was used to doing everything himself, and he was a little bit of a control freak. And so he very famously fucking hated script supervisors and basically told them to go fuck themselves. And so there are a number of continuity issues in this film, particularly in the third act, where like all of a sudden, like the two imprisoned men just kind of like reappear, and it's like, oh, Hitler's on the water, now he's gone, and oh, now this guy, he's Hitler. And like, it is known that there are some continuity issues in the third act here, okay? And that is really because Chaplin just hadn't adapted to like the new style of filmmaking yet. So that makes sense that you were confused. Is the movie where the myth that Hitler was secret, is this the movie where the myth that Hitler was secretly Jewish came from? No, I think Hitler was secretly Jewish. Also, I don't think Chaplin was actually Jewish. I think a lot of people just assumed that Charlie Chaplin was Jewish. I don't think, in fact, Charlie Chaplin was Jewish. He was not. Okay, that's what I thought. Chaplin had Jewish ancestry. Okay, got it. I really loved watching this film. I've been meaning to watch it. I wonder, have you shown any Hitchcock in film class? I remember watching Rear Window during a high school class 11 years ago, and I was way too young to enjoy it. Yeah, we watched Psycho, which is like my... Like, I mean, literally the title of this stream tonight is We All Go a Little Mad from Time to Time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on the shit. We've watched... Guys, we are approaching 300 movies that we have watched in film class, and our overlap of our like 250 some movies and like the IMDb top 100 films you should watch before you die, I think we've watched like 40 of the IMDb 100 movies you should watch before you die, like greatest films of all time, which is like kind of really fucking impressive. Do you have a letterbox? I don't have a letterbox because I already have no time, and I already do film reviews and I talk about films, so I don't write about it. But our film class has a letterbox, which has every movie we've ever watched on film night, save like 10 of them, and it will be linked in chat right there. Boom. Here's the letterbox with all the films that we have watched. Oh, goddamn ad blocking son of a cock. All the films that we have watched throughout our film class. It is, I mean, truly, like, I love our list of films. I really think if you wanted a good place to just like pull a good movie from, I think every movie on this list is worth watching. And we've watched, dude, La Samurai, we've watched some fucking bangers from every continent, from every time period, from every major director. We've watched films. Can you tell us anything in regards to the runtime? Was it on the longer side for the time? Not really. When people went to the movies, like they were like, back then, they were like, I got to get the value out of my nickel. So like, not many people complained about longer movies at this time period. You know what I mean? Like, that's only a modern thing, really, that like people are like, oh, an hour and 50 minutes? What have I made of time? Like back then, you know, people would like, that was like their entertainment for the night. Also, I just want to make something clear. Like, this is the period of time where like every single citizen would go to the movie theater probably multiple times a week, which is like crazy to fathom. But like every single US citizen would go to the movies probably at least once a week, which is like crazy. So like they didn't give a fuck about runtime. I don't know about that. No, that's actually true. That's 100% true. And would dress for it too. Yeah. The homeless folks, shut the fuck up. Woke 3.0. The unhomed people didn't attend the movies. Sorry, guys, I didn't factor for that. Pre-Panini, I used to go 1 to 3 times a week. Now it's like 1 to 2 times a month. I still try and go to the movies like once a month. Also most showings would have a picture and a B picture, as well as newsreels. Yeah, I talked about that. Like I talked about that in information spreading. Like truly, people would get newsreels, cartoons, like everything for the movie theaters. It was like a big to do. It feels like a lot of comedy in the late 90s and 2000s tried to do the here's some laughs, now here's a heartwarming think piece, but utterly failed. What do you think that is? I don't think it was a think piece. I think they would try and like reel it in with like kind of like the home improvement, like everything's gonna be all right. Suburbia's okay. That was like much more. I don't think that they would like I don't think that they would like do movies where they would be like crazy 90s comedy and here's a message about the Cold War. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of different. Like this movie is really kind of unique in that it's an hour and 50 of slapstick and then like 10 minutes of maybe the most profound thing ever said about human conflict. Like I mean that sincerely. So it is like a very, but what do I always say? Like contrast makes things feel even more intense. Hang on, Caroline's calling me. Hi, Caroline, I'm on stream. Do you need something?
Oh, you're streaming. I was just calling to say hi.
All right, I'll call you back in a second.
Oh, yeah, take your time.
Okay. Yeah, so like in the same way that like when you're doing a horror movie, if you have a bunch of silence before your like really big noise, like ding, I think the same is kind of true with this monologue, where like the whole movie is so kind of like light and pulpy and and then at the end he's just like, give yourself not to men who make war, soldiers. Do not be treated like cattle. And you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I remember I watched, okay, so this is, I always say this, but this is one of the movies that I watched in film school. And my teacher, Douglas Class, did not prepare me for the final monologue. And so I was like kind of sitting in a screening room with like my friend, like, this is funnier than I thought it would be. I thought this was going to fucking suck. And then all of a sudden he was like, I don't want to be a ruler. That's not what I want. And I was like, oh shit. These machine men with machine hearts. I saw this. No, Farley, I dropped a remote. He's trying to get me away from the computer. He's making shit up now. You watched this in history class? That's awesome. You had a great history teacher. He's making shit up. He does that. He's a smart dog. He knows, like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, Farley, what are you barking at? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe we should go fucking check it out on a walk. When it comes to a parody of war and politics, I always love this movie, but I could never decide on which I love more, this or Doctor Strangelove. What are your thoughts on parody, and do you love this or Doctor Strangelove? Bro, I mean, that is truly like comparing the Michael Jordan on the Bulls versus Kobe Bryant on the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like, oh, which one of these two greatest movies of all time do I love more? It's like 1A and 1B. Like when you talk about parody or a comedy based around war that still like has real empathetic oomph, they're both incredible. If I had to pick a winner, I would probably go with The Great Dictator, if I'm gonna be honest, because I think Strangelove is one of the greatest comedies of all time, but I mean this sincerely. I think the monologue at the end of The Great Dictator is like top 5 in film history. Like you can show that to almost anyone and they'll be like, damn. I'll be honest, you show Dr. Strangelove to like a Zoomer and they'll be like, this is fucking stupid. But if you show them the speech from The Great Dictator, even like the most screenager kid will be like, oh, that's heavy. You know what I mean? Like there's just something about the delivery and what he says that just resonates with almost everybody. Anyway, guys, I got a dog to walk. I got a girlfriend to call. I hope you enjoyed film night. It's been my fucking pleasure. Stay dangerous, everybody. Tomorrow on my stream, the HyperX level reawakening. Thank you, Caro Kick. Tomorrow, if you want to win some free stuff, tune into that. There will be a lot of free stuff. 3 p.m. West Coast time. I'm gonna take it on the road, baby. You don't know where to go, baby. Ooh, kind of want that. All right. I'm getting out of here. You know what? I'm going to send you over to Shy Thembo. How about that? All right. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Stay dangerous. And good night.
You take it on the road, baby. If that's the way you want it, baby, then I don't want you around.
Good night, guys.